Hello, hello, everybody. I'm Maggie O with Homeschool with Maggie O, your homeschool mentor. Welcome back to my curriculum review series. And today we have reached our 10th and final curriculum in this math curriculum review series. For our final review, we're looking at dimensions math, which uses the approach and commonly known as Singapore math. Before we begin, I want to clarify something that can sometimes be confusing. Singapore math refers broadly to a method of teaching mathematics that originated from the approach developed in Singapore. And there are different curriculum programs that use this approach. For today's review, I'm focusing specifically on Dimensions Math, which is published by Singapore Math Incorporated and is one of the curriculum options homeschool families may encounter when researching Singapore Math. Dimensions Math currently provides a sequence from preschool through 8th grade. As always, we're going to first look at how this particular curriculum works, and then we'll run through my Maggie O curriculum fit lens. And because this is our final math review, at the very end, I'm going to bring our entire math curriculum review series together and talk about how you can actually use these reviews to narrow down the choices for your individual child. So let's take a look. Let me share my screen. And so here we are on the official Singapore Math website, looking specifically at dimensions math. And the first thing I want parents to understand is that Singapore Math is known for placing a very strong emphasis on mathematical understanding and problem solving. And the goal isn't simply for a child to memorize a procedure and get the correct answer. The students are developing an understanding of mathematical relationships and learning different strategies for problem solving. And one of the defining features of this approach is something called Concrete-Pictorial-Abstract, or CPA. And I want to explain this because it is central to understanding how this curriculum teaches math. Concrete, pictorial, abstract. The first stage is concrete. And I'm just kind of wanting to go down here to make sure that we have everything that we're going to need here. Yes. Okay. And you can just sort of hover over these top areas also, which will help you to understand. It'll drop down and give you some understanding there as well. Anyway, so the first stage is concrete, and students begin by experiencing a mathematical concept with physical objects or manipulatives. Instead of immediately beginning with numbers and symbols on a page, the child can first interact with something tangible. The next stage is pictorial. The child moves from physical objects into visual representations of those objects and mathematical relationships. This may include pictures, diagrams, number bonds, and the bar model that Singapore Math is particularly known for. And then we move into abstract stage. And this is where students work with numbers, symbols, and mathematical notations. So the progression is I experience it, I see and represent it, and then I work with it abstractly. And the goal is to help students develop a deep understanding of what the mathematics actually represents rather than simply memorizing a procedure. Mastery spiral is what drives this, another important part of the Singapore Math. And it is what we have talked about before and companies describe as a mastery spiral. And this combines the elements of both mastery and the review, the spiral learning. Students spend concentrated time developing a deeper understanding of selected topics in mathematics, but the important concepts are also revisited and built upon as students progress. And that's just in math, that's kind of like what you need. So, this is not necessarily pure mastery in the sense that a concept is completed and never seen again. And it isn't a rapid spiral because students constantly jump between many unrelated topics. The goal is depth of understanding while continuing to build on previous knowledge over time. And now we want to look at the progression. So here, you start with this is the dimension shop. This is going to take us pre-K 5 to pre-K to 5, excuse me. And you have these bundles. And this discusses the mastery is within reach. Here's some quick links for you. All dimensions math up till 5, but remember we said it goes till 8. There are placement tests here that you can look at. And I highly, as always, and this is a very different program. So I really would recommend you do it here to understand how to properly place your student. And here is some of the dimensions math 5 through K placement tests. Let's just do this 3A here and see what it looks like. This is what the page looks like. It's clean, concise, it's easy to follow. Primary mathematics, US and standard edition tests. This is an interesting concept too. So you can even look in here. And it looks pretty much the same, but for the purpose of this, we're kind of trying to stay with dimensions. This is our focus today, is dimensions. There are many different lessons and books that you can look up in Singapore math. They're in here too. You can come up here to the resource section. You're going to see sample placements. Here's sample pages, which I love. This is the dimensions that we're talking about. And that gives you, it's very pleasing aesthetically. It's very colorful. It's large enough that, it's fun. It looks fun. It's colorful and it's clean and crisp. Let's go down into, here's dimensions 2. Let's see what this looks like. This is lesson 1 in what they call 2. Again, very pleasing to the eye and definitely a great option for a visual learner, I would say. But we're going to stick with dimensions for now. But you can tell, like, we have primary math US edition, primary math standard edition, primary mathematics 2. I mean, there's just multiples of this. And I can tell you that, let's see, I guess it's been almost 30 years ago. It must have been about 30 years ago when this first came out here, because I remember we did use some Singapore math when my boys were younger, and it's just continued to grow. Let's see what the dimensions 5 looks like. Very colorful. I don't know if this would bother some people. Maybe somebody with dyslexia. I'm not sure what they would think about this. This is fine. And again, remember, it was giving you those 3 points where we talk about the, which is pivotal here. It's concrete, pictorial, abstract. So it follows that throughout when we're looking at this. I'm just getting back to my notes again. And so we're in these right now. Yeah. Okay. So that's basically, you have the samples, there's your resources, scopes and sequence. You can look at this on dimensions, what we're going to cover. I like this layout. I like the way it's organized. It's very easy to follow and it's great for you to understand. Common core alignments for dimensions math. I like this as well, the way it's laid out. It's going to tell you exactly. This is so organized. This is very well organized. And it's really good for understanding your scope and sequence. And then here you have state standards, and they list it out by state. I'm in Texas, so I'm going to click on the Texas one. And this is what Texas standard alignment, like kind of how it would align with where they need to be. So it's easy to follow in their website, which I really like a lot. Um, yeah. And then Dimensions Math continues with a separate middle school sequence for grades 6 through 8. I want to make sure here. Here's the Dimensions Math 6 through 8 for schools, is what they call it. But you could, it continues in there. You have Dimensions pre-K through 5 for schools. Um, and then it also gives you like getting started, the pricing, how to order. So it's very, and there's supplemental, um, and it will explain all of this for you. So it's very user friendly. It is not, again, a K through 12 complete math curriculum. And after completing Dimensions Math 8, families will need to transition into another program for the remaining of high school math. The company explains that Dimensions Math 7 and 8 together cover pre-algebra and Algebra 1 topics, along with some geometry. And students can then move into later high school courses such as geometry and Algebra 2. So let's talk about what parents actually need, because Dimensions Math has several different components. So for the pre-K, it talks about the manipulatives here. So you would need the textbook, the workbook, and either the home instructor's guide or teacher's guide. For homeschool families, the home instructor's guide is specifically designed for teaching in a one-on-one setting. So I want to come back over here. They have homeschool workshop and events. That's pretty cool. Here we go. Sorry, I think I was on the wrong page earlier. Here's your dimensions. So, quick view of this when we open this. Yes, you will get your textbook, your workbook, and then any other kind of resources you can get on here as well. And you can just go through here and find that out. Here's your all dimensions math resources. And it gives you, it's very colorful and easy to get into. The home instructor's printout library, which is actually helpful. Lessons for littles videos, dimensions math recommended manipulatives, and you just click in there, and here's your downloadable list. And then it tells you in which category of math of dimensions those manipulatives are needed. This is not a curriculum where you simply buy one student workbook and hand it to your child. The different components are designed to work together. And we looked at some of the sample pages. One thing I really appreciate about this website is that parents can actually look inside the curriculum before you purchase it. And I think that is just so important. I really do appreciate the fact that they provide these sample pages and you can open them and get in there and look at them. And notice how mathematical ideas are represented. And we talked about that when we were looking at these samples. And the textbook is central to introducing and developing the concept. The workbook then gives the student practice applying what they've learned. So this isn't a workbook. That was the textbook. This is the workbook where they apply it. So here's the textbook workbook. This is the teacher's guide, which you would want because it's going to help you script and understand what we're teaching and what we're covering. And the home instructor's guide, you definitely, it'll tell you what materials, your printouts. I mean, it's very well organized. In notes, it tells you everything. And this is for the teacher. And this is why the company recommends using everything together. Bar modeling and problem solving as students progress, one of the methods that they may encounter is called bar modeling. Bar models allow students to visually represent the relationships within a math problem. And this can be particularly useful with word problems because the child isn't simply hunting for numbers and guessing which operation to use. They learn to represent the mathematical concepts or relationship visually and then solve from that understanding. Problem solving is a major part of Singapore Math's approach. I can tell you, I remember that from the beginning. They definitely have a different approach to teaching math. And students are encouraged to think about mathematics, make connections, and develop strategies rather than just simply memorizing a single procedure. And then, like I said, we looked at the sample, the placement tests. We were looking at those earlier, and we want to make sure that that you do the placement test. Singapore Math provides them, and if you're moving into this curriculum, especially from another program, I strongly do recommend that you use the placement. Singapore Math curricula can sometimes have a different scope and sequence from curriculum your child has previously used. It's pretty unique. So please don't automatically assume my child's in fifth grade, therefore I'm going to purchase Dimensions 5. Use the placement information. The goal is not to put a child in the book that matches their age. The goal is to put them at the level where they have the foundation necessary to be successful. So the website provides the placement tests for many of the Dimension math levels, and there are not currently placement tests that appears for the 7 and 8. So families entering the upper middle school sequence should follow the company's specific placement guidance. Okay, and so we kind of gone through basically the site here. There is, I want to mention that the video lessons are available as an optional additional resource for Dimensions grades 1 through 6. Um, Let me see where I saw that as well. I'm not finding that right now. On here, I had seen it. But I would encourage you, if you wanted to look at that, you could look at that as well. However, the videos, they don't replace the core curriculum materials. You still need the appropriate, the textbook, the workbook, and the home instructor's guide or teacher's guide that I was showing you. Um, yeah, so they're supplemental. I would not classify Dimensions Math as an independent online curriculum in the same category as teaching textbooks, definitely, or CDC Math. And at its core, there is still a curriculum built around books, mathematical discussion, activities, and direct instruction. And so now let's run Dimensions Math, which is a Singapore math, through my Maggie O curriculum fit lens. The learning style fit visual learners. Very strong potential fit for visual, as I was showing you. The sample pages, they're really colorful and they are pretty and they're very clean and crisp. Visual models are a major part of the Singapore math approach. They're real big on that. And students use the pictures, they use those diagrams, the number bonds, and bar models to understand mathematical relationships. Hands on and kinesthetic learners, Strong potential fit, particularly when the concrete stage of the CPA approach is fully implemented. Students can begin concepts with physical objects and manipulatives before moving into visual and abstract mathematics. For auditory learners, potentially strong with active parental instruction, the program encourages mathematical discussion and having students explain their thinking. It's just very different. It's a very different approach. This is not primarily an audio based curriculum, but a parent can incorporate significant verbal interactions into the lessons. The read write learners also well supported through the textbooks and the workbooks. Your independent learners, this is not the curriculum I would choose primarily because I wanted complete independence. I would not, if that's your point, I would not. No, the program is designed around instruction and mathematical discussion, particularly in younger years. As students get older, they may certainly become increasingly independent, but the parent or instructor plays an important role in helping the child engage with the mathematical concepts. And for unique learners, to consider unique learners for a child who needs to understand why math works, I see very strong potential here. It's a different approach, but it could still be strong. The concrete, pictorial, abstract progression gives students multiple ways to experience and understand a concept before relying exclusively on abstract symbols. So, for students who struggle with word problems, bar modeling may provide a useful visual strategy for understanding the relationships within a problem. For some students with ADHD, the movement between hands on learning, visual models, discussion, and written work may provide helpful variety. However, this is a mathematically rigorous curriculum. A child who needs a very slow pace or extensive repetitive may require additional practice or adaptation. Again, it's a very different style and way of teaching mathematics. For students with dyscalculia or significant math learning disabilities, the concrete and visual components may be helpful, but I would still carefully evaluate whether the pace and level of abstraction are appropriate for the individual child. For advanced or mathematically strong students, the emphasis on deep thinking, problem solving, and challenging applications may be particularly appealing. So let's talk about our philosophy, our homeschool philosophy. The classical homeschool, this is a strong potential fit. Families who value logical thinking, systematic skill development, depth, and rigorous problem solving may find strong alignment here with the Dimensions Singapore math. Eclectic homeschool, very strong potential fit. Dimensions math can't easily serve as the math component while families use completely different approaches in other subjects. Traditional school, strong potential fit for families comfortable with active parent instruction and multiple curriculum components. The Charlotte Mason inspired homeschool, potentially a fit for families who appreciate short, focused lessons and concrete learning, although Dimensions Math is not specifically a Charlotte Mason curriculum. It's fine. Relaxed homeschool, possible. But this is a systematic and rigorous program, so families would need to decide how much they want to adapt pacing and assignments. Unschooling or strongly child led, probably this is weaker for them because the curriculum follows a carefully planned mathematical progression and it is rigorous. Parent involvement, I would rate this involvement moderate to high, particularly in the younger years. The home instructor's guide is designed to help you teach the concepts and guide mathematical discussion. As students mature, they may become more independent, but I would not choose Dimensions Math because I wanted the curriculum to completely take math off of my teaching plate. This program works best when the teaching approach itself is actually used. So this is for the strongest fit person. I would add this to my research list, a child who needs to understand why math works, a strong visual learner, a hands-on learner, a student who enjoys challenging word problems, a child who benefits from seeing mathematical relationships represented visually, a mathematically strong or advanced learner who needs depth and challenge, a family that values conceptual understanding over simple procedural memorization, a parent willing to actively teach mathematics, and a family looking for a rigorous elementary and middle school math sequence. The caution that I give and would investigate carefully is for those if you need a math to be completely independent, you want an automatically graded online program, your child becomes easily frustrated by challenging problem solving, a child needs a very high amount of repetitive practice, you want one curriculum that continues all the way through high school, or you do not have the time or desire to be actively involved in teaching math. So, my final takeaways and my biggest takeaways of dimensions is deep mathematical thinking. The goal is not simply, can my child get the answer? The goal is, does my child understand the mathematical relationship? Can they represent it? Can they reason through it? And can they apply what they know to increasingly complex problems? If that is the kind of mathematical education you're looking for, dimensions math is absolutely worth investigating. And with that said, we have officially completed our math curriculum review series. We have now looked at 10 very different math curriculum options: Math UC, Saxon Math, My Academy, Math Mammoth, Math with Confidence, Abeka Math, Bob Jones University Press Math, teaching textbooks, C2C Math, and Dimensions Math using the Singapore math approach. And if there is one thing I hope you take away from this entire series, it is this: there is no best math curriculum. There is only a curriculum that is a better or worse fit for the individual child and family using it. Throughout this series, we've seen just how different math instruction can be. We've looked at mastery based learning, spiral and incremental learning, hands on instruction, visual instruction, parent led programs, work text based programs, traditional Christian curricula, independent online programs, and highly conceptual problem solving focused approaches. And every single one of those approaches can be wonderful for the right child, but none of them will be wonderful for every child. So if you're sitting here after 10 reviews thinking, Maggie, now I have even more choices, I don't want you to go back and compare 10 curricula all over again. Instead, go back to your child. Ask yourself, how does my child learn best? Do they need hands on materials? Do they need repetition? Do they need mastery before moving forward? Do they thrive with visual instruction? Do they need shorter lessons? Can they work independently? Or do they need direct interaction with me? Do they need more challenge? Do they need more confidence? And then I want you to ask yourself an equally important question: what can I realistically sustain as the homeschool parent? Because the perfect curriculum on paper is not the perfect curriculum if it requires more time teaching, preparation, or supervision than your family can realistically give it. Use these reviews to eliminate options first. You don't need 10 finalists. You may be able to say, my child doesn't learn well online. Well, that immediately narrows the field. Or I need math to be independent. That narrows the field again. Or my child absolutely needs manipulatives and hands on instruction. Now we're getting somewhere. The goal of this series was never for me to choose your math curriculum for you. The goal was to give you the information and the lens you need to make a more confident, informed choice for your child or children. And remember, a curriculum is a tool. You are allowed to adapt it. You are allowed to slow it down. You are allowed to speed it up. You're allowed to supplement it. And if something truly is not working, you are allowed to change it. Curriculum should serve the child, and the child should never be forced to serve the curriculum. So that officially closes our math curriculum review series here inside Homeschool with Maggie O, your homeschool mentor. I hope you will come back to these reviews whenever you are researching math curriculum, comparing options, or simply trying to understand why something that works beautifully for another homeschool family may not be working for yours. And we're not finished with our curriculum review series. Math was simply our first subject. Next, we'll move into another homeschool subject and begin looking at the curriculum options available there through the same Maggie O curriculum fit lens. Because no matter what subject we're talking about, we're always coming back to the same question. Not what is the best curriculum, but instead, what is the best fit for the child sitting right in front of me? I'm Maggie O, Homeschool with Maggie O, your homeschool mentor. Thank you so much for joining me for this entire math curriculum review series. I hope it has been helpful, and I'll see you in our next subject. In the meantime, happy homeschooling until next time. Bye bye.